Welcome to the Get Fit Guys, quick and dirty tips to get moving and shape up. My name is Brock Armstrong and I am the Get Fit Guy. Your chest muscles are important for many things, other than just filling out your t-shirt. They are responsible for flexing your upper arm when you swim, or moving your arm inwards when you're riding a bike, or rotating your arm bone towards your body while you walk or run, or also for simply breathing deeply. And that's what we're going to talk about today. All right, before I dig into the details of how you can get a strong and defined chest, I want to address a common fear that exercising like this will make, women look like men and men look like balloon animals. Well, to allay this fear, I'm going to turn to biology. All of us have a gene that's called GDF-8, and that gene is in charge of a substance called myostatin. Now, myostatin is in charge of controlling the amount of muscle we have on our body and how big our muscles develop naturally. The base levels of myostatin and muscle in the majority of us make it impossible for us to naturally build bulky muscles, no matter how heavy a weight we lift. And the majority of us simply do not have the genes to build bulky muscles via any form of exercise. Now, sure, there are a few people out there who can become bulky because, they have those bulky genes, but they are few and far between, and no matter how much most of us engage in resistance training, we will never cross that threshold that gives bulking up a bad name. Okay, with that out of the way, let's talk about chest muscles. The main area of our chest is made up of two muscles that we refer to as the pecs. These muscles work together to do the activities that I described earlier, and these muscles are the pectoralis major and the pectoralis minor. Now, the pectoralis minor is located directly underneath the pectoralis major. Both of these chest muscles start at the clavicle, which is your collarbone, and insert at the sternum, which is your breastbone, and the humerus, which is your armpit. The pectorals are mostly used to control arm movement, and contracting the pectoralis major results in pulling on the humerus to create lateral, vertical, and rotational motion of the arm. The pecs also play a role in breathing, specifically in inhalation. And that's done by pulling the rib cage open to actually make room for the lungs to expand. Now, even though the pec is divided into two parts, there are actually 6 separate sets of muscle fibers within the pectoralis muscle. This is important because these sets of fibers allow portions of the muscle to be moved independently by our nervous system. Now, you may be asking yourself, why would I want to get a stronger chest? Well, getting a stronger and more defined chest goes simply beyond looking good at the swimming pool or in a tight t-shirt. Every day we use the pectoral muscles to do things like pushing a heavy door open, or heaving a load of laundry over your head, or washing your hair, or simply getting off the ground or out of bed. Even though they're not exerting the primary force, your pecs are also active when you pick a bag up off the floor, or you throw a ball, or you push a grocery cart or a stroller. Because of those actions, and more, getting a stronger chest is advantageous for both aesthetics and performance. And it does not matter whether you're a powerlifter, a weightlifter, an endurance athlete, a mom, or a fitness blogger like me. All right, let's get into some chest building pointers. Now, though the chest is made up of one single mass of muscle that's broken into the major and minor, we're actually best off training it like it's actually 3 parts: the upper, middle, and lower portions of the chest. Now, the reason for this is that each region is stimulated best by changing the angle from which you exercise the muscle. To best stimulate the upper chest, perform the exercises on a 30 to 45 degree incline bench. Examples of this would be the incline bench press or incline flies. Now, both of those exercises are great for developing the upper chest. Now, to target the middle chest, you use a flat bench, and examples of this are flat bench press or flat flies. Now, the lower chest is best exercised by working out on a 30 to 45 degree decline bench. And you guessed it, decline bench press and decline flies are great ways to target the lower chest. Now, moving beyond the angle of your body, the upper chest will be targeted by doing movements that involve shoulder flexion. The middle chest will be targeted by doing horizontal adduction movements, especially ones that don't involve shoulder flexion or extension, and the lower chest will be targeted with movements that involve shoulder extension. So, what does that mean? Well, number one, you need to perform press movements from all three angles. Instead of always doing flat bench press or regular push-ups, include exercises on a decline or incline, or even with your feet or your hands on an elevated ball or platform. On a weekly basis, include incline, decline, and flat chest exercises so you maximize your chest muscles from all angles. Now, number two is that you should perform flies of all types. The chest exercise known as flies really help develop the inner pec muscles. These inner muscles aren't targeted by presses, and there are many fun and challenging variations of the fly that you can try. You can do machine chest flies, you can do dumbbell flies, flat dumbbell flies, seated cable flies, and standing cable flies are all great options. When you do flies, make sure to stay inside your comfortable range of motion. As the weights that you're using increase, it can become quite easy to actually injure your shoulders if you lose control of the weight. So be careful. And number three, make sure that you don't forget your postural or your pulling muscles. When you're working on your chest, you also need to include shoulder exercises like seated rows, single arm rows, pull downs, and pull ups. Weak and rounded shoulders can make your chest look concave and can really mess with your posture. Now, before we get to the actual workout, you might be wondering which weights work best. Free weights are believed to give you a much bigger bang for your buck because they recruit more muscle fibers. Recruiting more muscle fibers results in a greater stress response, higher secretion of muscle-building hormones, and greater adaptations. At the 8th International Conference on Strength Training in Norway, researchers presented evidence comparing 6 sets of 8 to 10 reps of the squat versus the leg press, squat being a type of free weight exercise here and leg press being the opposite. And what they found was 50% higher testosterone levels and 3 times the growth hormone in the free weighting squatters. This is not to mention that the more functional movement of lifting a single heavy object with one hand tends to develop a more well-rounded physique that is also less prone to injury. You can think of it this way. If you lift a dumbbell instead of using an exercise machine, more stabilizer muscles are recruited to support your primary muscles. And this means that the muscles learn to fire together and work together because the dumbbell permits you to move through a fuller and more natural range of motion. All right, after all that, you're probably wondering where to start. Well, I'm going to give you a chest strengthening workout that you can try that addresses all the areas that we just talked about and a little bit more. And don't worry, you don't have to memorize this. Just go to getfitguy.quickanddirtytips.com and look for episode 415, and this is all written out for you. Now, the first exercise to try is the incline dumbbell bench press. The main benefit of performing incline presses is to develop the upper portion of your pectoral muscles. Now, the second exercise in this workout is the flat dumbbell bench press. And the flat bench press activates both heads of the pectorals evenly, which makes this exercise great for overall chest strengthening. And the third exercise is straight bar dips. Done properly, dips, any dips, will increase the strength and mobility of your chest, your shoulders, your arms, and your core. Now, the fourth exercise is incline dumbbell flies. This exercise targets the sternal heads of your pectoralis major muscles, and it also strengthens your deltoids, your biceps, your triceps, your wrist flexors, and your brachialis muscles. And the fifth exercise is, well, any type of postural or pulling exercises. And you can mix this one up each time you do it. You can choose between seated rows, single arm rows, pull downs, or pull-ups. And the sixth and final exercise in this workout is the high to low cable crossover. Now, this is a great finishing exercise that you do to failure that can help you burn out and break down your pectoralis major and pectoralis minor muscles. And here's a pro tip. If you cross your hands right in front of your body, you will get a more full range of motion. Now, what I just listed is the order that I do this workout in, but you should order it based on your weakest to strongest. Or if muscle size is what you're after, start with the parts where you want to see the biggest gains. Which of course brings me to my final point, which is how many reps and sets you should do. I would suggest following the old rule: more reps for muscle and more sets for strength. And what I mean by that is, for strength, the key factor is less metabolic stress and more mechanical tension. And that means that your total time under tension, or TUT, to build strength is lower. So you should focus on faster tempos, lower rep ranges, or a combination of the two. Now, for muscle gain, more metabolic stress and less mechanical tension is key, meaning that the total time under tension needs to be higher. So you should focus on slower tempos, higher rep ranges, or a combination of both. Now, to finish up, training the pectorals is just as important for women as it is for men. So if you have been neglecting those muscles, it is time to give them some tough love and undivided attention. As you learned, these muscles are involved in many functions that you need throughout any ordinary day, as well as the fancy moves required in a variety of sports and athletic pursuits. Remember, the stronger your chest muscles, the stronger your entire body. Now, for more chest info, pec tips, and to join in the strength conversation, head over to facebook.com/getfitguy or twitter.com/getfitguy or getfitguy.quickanddirtytips.com, or you can find me at my website, brockarmstrong.com. Now, my name is Brock Armstrong, and I am the Get Fit Guy, asking you, what are you waiting for? Go strengthen that chest.